So let's go ahead and kick it off with questions real quick. We'll give 8 minutes or so questions. Who wants to jump out first and be the first one to ask kind of what questions do you have? Awesome. This is exciting.
Okay, so
it's going great.
I'll ask questions. I had somebody the other day. They said, we really want to do this. We're not doing it now. We need to research it. I was door knock. They set an appointment. Then they called me back and said, I spoke to my wife. I need to research this. I don't understand what this mortgage protection is. And, I was in a meeting, so I didn't get to have a conversation with them. And so when I called them back, I just left a message, said that was the idea of meeting, was to kind of educate you on what this is. And I haven't heard back from them. So what do you do in that situation? Just next.
Brittany, what do you do in that situation?
Honestly, Ron, I cannot hear you at all right now. I just messaged Chris and I was like, can you hear him well? It's very low on my end.
So Ron said that he did a door knock. The lady called back and said, hey, we need to research this and do some, looking around, not really necessarily wanting to meet with you yet. What do you do in that kind of situation?
I just tell them I understand, and then I also say, well, I can help you to look through those options because there's several options out there. Wouldn't it be better to be able to talk to someone, actually ask questions, and maybe if they didn't schedule, I would door knock again whenever I had a time where I could actually do the appointment right then and there, so I can just say, hey, let's go ahead and have the conversation while I'm here.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I would actually say there's a lot of content out there to research. Some is good, some is bad. Just like anything, you don't, it's okay for you to be kind of on top of things and looking through stuff, but that's what I'm here to help you, kind of guide you through the process of finding the right information that makes sense for you guys. So let's schedule some time, tomorrow at such and such a time, and I'll help you do some of that research. That's the way I would go.
That's basically what I did. But I left a message. They didn't pick up the phone when I called them back.
Next.
Yeah, I mean, I would
too much, Ron.
Yeah, I would follow it up with probably just a text message, just restating the same thing. Just telling you kind of what your purpose is, what you're gonna do, and just let them know, hey, your budget, your situation better than any one of us. We're just helping you, educating you on what the right process is so that you can choose the right situation that's best for you and make an educated decision. But other than that, it's next.
Yeah, and I always try to make them feel comfortable with price range as well, because a lot of times people are already sweating it over price if they're worried about it like that. So I make sure I tell them, hey, listen, we've got things from $20 to $200. I don't mind what you do as long as you have peace of mind. You can do whatever you want. And I always make them feel comfortable that they have the decision and I'm not going to be pushy.
So what I did is I left the message for them. I just said, you know what? That was the purpose of us getting together, was to educate you, answer your questions.
Yeah.
We're a broker. We have 43 of the top carriers in the country and about 500 products to choose from. So I have yet not to be able to fit into somebody's budget. It's up to you. If you guys feel you need to do research before you meet with me, that's fine. Whatever you're comfortable with, just let me know.
Yeah. I think you handled it well.
You handled it super well, and my only other suggestion would be don't overanalyze it. Sounds great.
Thank you.
Next. All right, what other questions do we have? Again, I don't want to take a ton of time. We've got 4 more minutes, and then we've got a lot of content that we can cover. So what other questions do we have real quick?
All right, Ms. Jackson will jump in with one. The one that happened to me last night is the letter that they get that says, can cover your mortgage, can cover disability. And I've had that several questions come up, and he said, basically I'm not licensed to sell it, I think was the major problem. But I have had several people asking, say, what I'm really looking for is not the life insurance, but if I'm not able to work. And I'll have to pull the letter out and see exactly how one reads. But some advice on how to handle that better, because I stumbled last night.
Who wants to address that?
Well, I would say my advice on that, a lot of times what you don't realize whenever they say they're looking for something if they're not able to work, I don't know if it's the area I'm in. It very well could be, but they're not necessarily looking for disability. They're looking for unemployment. So that's something to address. It depends on why you're not able to work. And I usually tie it in with the living benefits on products that we already have, because same as you, Karen, I don't have a health license. I generally don't do standalone disability policies. But I go over it, general things that make people not be able to work fall within this policy. Your heart attack, stroke, cancer, aortic graft surgery, aplastic anemia. And I just kind of go over the living benefits that are already tied into the policies. And they're like, oh, yeah, that does sound good. And come to find out, anyways, they were looking for just general unemployment benefits and not disability anyways, because they think if they're not able to work, they'll be able to pick up on something else. Well, that's government benefits that you're looking for. So dig around with that and truly find out what it is that they're looking for, because you'll find a lot of times it is just unemployment, which she can't write unemployment.
And in this particular case that we have, that the other guy, it probably was true. In this particular case, she's at Walmart. She already had $2 million close to it in policies.
Mm-hmm.
As she had a lot of, she wasn't wasn't just looking to cover unemployment. She was looking to cover, based kind of on the letter, it said, if something happened, to be able to still have income coming in. So, but I'll go back and hit her on the living benefit.
So yeah, I want to say, and Chris, I know you got something to say, and I'm going to lead in. I think you can handle it. What I will say is the vast majority of the time, what Brittany's talking about is spot on, 95% of the time. It's rare that you're going to run into someone that's got that kind of coverage, that kind of income. It's good, and you need to know how to handle it. Chris will probably address the best way to handle it, because I know that's what we did a lot of. But just realize that there are a lot of products that you do have access to without a health license that you can still feather in to the entire presentation. It's all about rapport and how you present the coverage. And then Chris, I'll have you kind of address what you were going to say.
Yeah, I was going to say a couple of things. One, first off, straight out of the gate, if you want me to come write a disability policy, I will. But secondly, I completely agree with everything Brittany said, and I think a lot of people get a little bit nervous in the meeting because they feel as if they almost tell a person that that's not a reality, it's not a realistic situation, they're going to lose the sale. And I think that's coming from a real position of weakness. First of all, you're there as a consultant to help them, but secondly, when you let them start getting off the rails like that, and you're weak in the conversation, it's only going to go further. So I would let them know straight away, transparently, that that's just not an option. Like Brittany said, you're not looking for an insurance product. You're looking for government benefits. You can get that. That's fine. That will be there. That's not the premise of what this conversation. What you're looking for literally isn't a product. So I would guide the conversation pretty clearly when it goes that way. I understand that the one that you're dealing with wasn't necessarily that way, but listen, we live in Arkansas. Most of them are going to be that way. It's a common thing, and Brittany does a really good job of comparing what a living benefit inside of a product would do that has a lot of analogs with what a full-blown disability does. But if a person just loses their job because they lose their job, hey, like, I'm sorry, like, that's just
okay.
What happens if I quit my job? I don't know. Like, what does happen? Like,
yeah, Brittany, I really think, because I left the door open and we connected on another level with something else, so I will be going back up with her. I'll just open that door back up a little bit, and if not, then I learned. But okay.
And maybe I know, Brittany, some of this stuff that we're going to talk about, product knowledge and things that we're going to talk through. One of the things that maybe you can address is what are some things that people can provide without a health license? Because I know you don't have one and you've been very successful. Okay. So
I've got all kinds of stuff. No worries.
So I think Karen, I think you're going to get some of what you're looking for. And then I will just express what Dave Drutzler already said. Go get your health license. I mean, that's another thing. I think because I think you've run into this several times. I know I've helped you write a couple of things So I would just say, hey, put that on your docket of things to do. And in the meantime, Brittany's going to take it away here and probably teach us all kinds of new stuff.
Can I add one thing to that, Mike, real quick?
I guess so, Ron.
Fast.
I'm sorry. Mutual of Omaha, what I do with that, I'll say, well, you know, you're not going to get that from anywhere, but Mutual of Omaha, if you're unemployed, will make the payments on your premium for 6 months while you're looking for a job, so you don't have to worry about losing your coverage.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
All right, I'm going to pass it off to Britt. She's the expert. Let's make it happen.
that's a good one. I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I've learned a lot. So I do want to say with the standalone disability policies, I want to add one more thing to that. It's very hard to get people approved for that. I didn't realize that at first. I have done 3 different go-arounds and have been unsuccessful with every one of them. So
Also very expensive. The general rule of thumb is that you spend 1% of your income to protect around 90% of your income. So you have to have a person who's actually serious about getting disability insurance.
yeah,
And really facilitatively can afford it, but also needs it.
yeah. And the policy that Mutual of Omaha offers, I actually noticed last night, it used to go to age 55. It actually goes to age 61 now. So that could be a good bit of information in case you guys didn't know that. So I have came up with kind of some notes already for you guys. Elzar, if you'll go ahead and post that in general, so you guys can go ahead and print it off if you want, and you can add notes to it if you need or want, because I'm sure I'm going to say things that I haven't already put in this. But I do want to let you guys know this isn't at all for you to avoid using Virtual Mentor or to use your underwriting guides. Like, you're still going to need to utilize that. And know that things that I tell you, I'm in Tennessee. Policies vary by state. So some of these benefits that I talk about may not even be available in your state. So it's always something to double check with and make sure that you do have available. I think that most of the benefits generally are available on most policies in each state, but I'm just saying, don't hold me liable for that. Okay, so I have a lot of different product knowledge. I've done term, I've done standalone accidental death policies, and then I've done a section on your whole life, final expense, critical period, equity protection, whatever you want to call it, because in the beginning, I know I didn't realize that that was all the same thing. Call me silly, but some of you new people out there may not realize that final expense, critical period, equity protection, it's all the same product. So there's that. Anyways, so I guess we'll go ahead and get started. I want to start with Mutual of Omaha. I've kind of done this guide in my favorite products to my least favorite, and I've kind of done tips and stuff as to why. That is my own personal opinion. No one else had anything to do with this. I write quite a bit of business, so of course everyone is going to have their own personal favorites. Do what your upline recommends. It's always the best thing to go by, okay? So I guess the first one that I'm going to start with is Mutual of Omaha. If I'm writing term, which is generally what you guys are going to start with, especially if you haven't been in the field, you don't necessarily need to worry about advanced things like IUL, structuring that. Just get the client covered. So you're going to be doing a lot of term in the beginning. I love Mutual of Omaha, especially for new agents, because before they even draft the client, they go ahead and pay you. So you can literally set the client's draft date for up to a month out, and you can get paid before they actually draft the client. So I like that for that. It's really good to get new agents started out using Mutual of Omaha policies, because a lot of them are needing to get paid, or maybe some of you guys on here, maybe you're needing to get paid. Mutual of Omaha is a good product that's going to get you paid pretty quickly. And I love them just because it's a household name as well. You say Mutual of Omaha and a client automatically feels more secure in what you're doing. Oh yeah, I've heard of Mutual of Omaha. Everybody's heard of Mutual of Omaha. So I love Mutual of Omaha for that reason. Now, they do have a phone app available for easy quoting. You can look it up just in the app store. It comes up just writing Mutual of Omaha quotes in there. I use this all the time. I absolutely love it. And it's also good to know what's available in your state, because sometimes it'll gray things out if that's not actually available in your state. So definitely download the app. Now, what comes with it? First, I'm going to talk about term and everything that I talk about, and then I'm going to switch over and start talking about whole life products. So no, everything I'm talking about right now is term, okay? With Term Life Express, you get a lot of living benefits with it. With it, you have terminal illness, chronic illness, and critical illness. And on the paper, which has Elazar posted that? I haven't looked. Does anyone know?
Yeah,
it's
on
I got it.
Yep.
Okay. On there, beside each one, every carrier has a different definition of what terminal illness is, chronic illness is, and critical illness. You'll find that chronic illness is usually the same with most carriers. Can't perform 2 out of 6 daily living activities. Now, per carrier, some of those living activities do vary slightly. So I've tried to define what that carrier defines as chronic illness. And guys, I leverage off this stuff in a home. When you're in a home and you're talking about what the policy has, at first, I didn't know, because being really honest, you're learning a lot at first. And those underwriting guides, some of those are like 70 pages long, and that's scary. So I just did this to kind of collaborate it all together. But whenever you're telling a client, this product comes with critical illness, which means, you have ALS, kidney failure, invasive cancer, major organ failure, heart attack, stroke. When you're just ranting all these things off, you'll just see the client's face like, wow, that's pretty impressive. Don't be scared to woo your clients with that, hey, this comes with this, and this. It's already tied up in the policy. It's not going to cost you any extra. Clients really like that, and I really leverage off of that. Of course, it does have additional riders available at extra costs. It does have a disability income rider on there, Karen, by the way, and you don't have to have a health license to add that rider on there. So that's a way to ride it with that. As long as you're not doing a standalone policy, that's a way that you can ride it, okay? I wrote in the notes, according to states, it does come with additional riders like common carrier, which is death by train, plane, bus. Return of premium is also available on this product, which, if you guys don't know, it means after a set amount of years, you can either do 20 years or 30 years. You get all your money back as long as you don't pass away. Actually, on the mobile quote, as you do it, it will actually go ahead and tell you exactly how much the client is going to get back. So I leverage that as well. If I'm talking about return of premium policies, like, hey, you're going to get $14,000 back after 20 years, in 20 years, you're going to be this age. Do you think that $20,000 could be useful, or what could you use that towards? I calculate that for them every single time, because like I said, I leverage on it. Now, something to know that I did not know when I first began is return of premium policies knock off some of your living benefits. Yeah. It knocks off the critical illness and chronic illness and leaves terminal illness, which pretty much any policy out there is going to have terminal illness on it. So I was talking to Mutual of Omaha about it one day, and I was like, so can you cash the policy out early? You can, but you're not going to get 100% of your money back. Let's say you do a 30-year policy and you decide after 15 years that you're going to cash that policy out. No, they're going to give you probably the percentage that you are into your policy. So halfway through your policy, they're probably only going to give you 50% of your money that you paid in back, okay? It's not till you reach that full point, 30 years or 20 years, that they're going to give you your money back on it, okay? Now,
hey, Brett?
Yes.
This is Jeff. I got a question. So with ROP, they don't have to go to maturity in order to get their ROP. They get a percentage of it prior to the 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, they do. So if they're halfway through, if they did a 20-year and they're 10 years in and they decided they want to get rid of it, They're not going to give them 100% of their money. It runs right around 50%. And also, if you'll check, whenever you do one of those return of premium policies, I actually just opened the policy up myself and reviewed it, which I know it's hard because they mail the policies to the client now. But if you have something that's like pay on delivery or something like that, I know this is before Mutual of Omaha started mailing them out that I looked at it. I just went through, it actually has a scale. If you cash it in after X amount of years, how much they're going to get back. And I calculated it myself because I'm a little crazy sometimes. So yeah, it runs right at whatever percentage you're in. If you're 75% into the policy, they'll probably give you 75% of your money back.
All right, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, no problem. Now, I do have good news, and I'm going to get to that product in a little bit. If your clients are really all about living benefits and, you know, that just ruins them wanting to return a premium because it knocks off those living benefits, America's return of premium policy actually keeps all of your living benefits on it. Go ahead, Chris.
They call it cashback option.
They do call it cashback option.
Okay,
and I put that in there. Yeah. I think CBO, and I wrote what that stands for in case you guys didn't know. That's under the America part. So if you do have a client that is dead set on those living benefits, go to America. Definitely. Okay, so also included the little note that you can get paid on there before it actually drafts the client. My next favorite product is National Life Group. You do have to have an E&O license to write this, so some of you new people who don't have it yet know that you can't write it yet. And guys, I have told several new agents this, there's options out there to get your E&O that you don't have to pay a lot of money up front. Like, I actually have mine set up. I think I pay $30 a month for my E&O license. There's several things out there, so don't be afraid to reach out to one of us and ask us what we're using for our E&O, because there's options where you don't have to put a lot of money up front. So do know that. Now, with National Life Group, it has pretty much all of the same living benefits on their term policies that Mutual of Omaha has, but you'll notice, you know, in the benefits I actually wrote out on here, they have a lot more. Like under their critical illness, I think it's up to 13 now, different critical illnesses that they cover. So review all those. And like I said, leverage off those in home. Whenever you can spew off just automatically the 13 different illnesses that product covers, clients are kind of impressed. And I say these every single time, you know, because when you say to a client, it's got chronic illness or it's got critical illness, they don't know what that means. They have no stinking idea. I mean, half the time I get chronic and critical confused myself. So they honestly have no idea. But if you spew those off, it's going to sound a little more impressive. And if you notice, the living benefits, they have different definitions. Like terminal with Mutual of Omaha is 12 months or less to live. With National Life Group, it's 24 months or less to live. So know that as well. It also has about the same additional optional riders, and it has critical injury. Critical injury is actually included with the living benefits. Mutual of Omaha doesn't have that. Critical injury, coma, paralysis, burns, traumatic brain injury, that's already tied up in there. And same thing with those living benefits. I have tried before. Laugh if you must, but whatever. I had a client who didn't care at all about living benefits, and so I was like, well, maybe we can see if we can get them taken off of there or whatever. And no, you can't. Even though that was the cheapest, and I was trying to make it even cheaper, you can't take them off or anything like that. They're not willing to do that. So I know whenever I first started, laugh if you must, I've messed up a lot of things. That's how I learned. Whenever you first go into their quoting system, it's not going to jump out at you and just say quotes. It says illustrations to the left. I know, silly enough, I didn't know to click illustrations. So illustrations is going to be how you actually run quotes. Click on that and going into it. Over to the left side is kind of your bar that you tab around in, and you'll see where it says riders on there. That is how you'll know if the riders are available in your specific state. If you're looking at those riders, you know, it's typically in just black writing down through there. If the rider isn't available, it grays it out across the board, okay? I'm in the state of Virginia right now. Virginia used to not have critical illness available here. It wasn't till about a year ago that actually they changed that, and you can see that's available now. It's not grayed out. So definitely look at that and make sure all those riders are available that you're talking about in your state, and that's an easy way to do it without actually calling the carrier. Does anyone have any questions so far? I know I've went over a lot.
And while people might need to ask questions, don't forget that if you are on the phone, *6 is what you need to do to unmute yourself, because I've muted everyone.
Okay, you done missed your chance. Anyways, so I also notated down there what the G means whenever you're looking at the illustrations. I know this is a question I asked Mike when I first started. When you're looking at the illustrations, it'll say like 20G, 30G, and then over to your right side, it's going to say 20NG, 30NG. I was like, I don't know what I'm looking at. G just means guaranteed, so it's always going to have level premiums. NG is not guaranteed, so those premiums have the chance to change. Now, Chris or Mike probably know more about not guaranteed, but Mike said, hey, Brittany, don't do that. So guess what, guys? I haven't done that, so I don't know anything about it. What Mike says, I do, and it generally works out in my favor. Imagine that. Okay, so moving on to the next one, which this is Chris's favorite company. Chris is probably the expert in this company. I am not. So if you have questions about this company, you probably want to ask him. And I know there is another product out there that's kind of like a decreasing term that will pay your monthly payments and stuff for you. I didn't write about that because, like I said, this is all my opinions, and I am no expert in that, and I know nothing about it, nor have I ever written it, but it is a good product. So I hear. Chris, teach me one day. Okay, so Americo. Americo is awesome because they do in-the-home qualifying. They're going to let you know right then and there if they're not going to take the client or not. Now, I won't say always, because sometimes you'll get to the end of the app and it'll say that it needs additional underwriting. That doesn't mean that they're declined or anything. I just had a fellow the other day. He's under 50. He has diabetes. He's not insulin dependent. He's just on metformin, but still, that's a big deal for a lot of companies. So I did Americo HMS, and lo and behold, he was approved. Awesome. What's the difference in HMS 125 and 150? I had that question in the beginning too. HMS 125, what the 25 or 50 means, if you do HMS 125, it means 25% of the death benefit is added on as accidental death. Example, if you do a $100,000 policy and they die by accident, the beneficiary is going to get $125,000. So what do you think 150 means? 50% of the death benefit is added on an accidental death. Example, 100,000 policy would be 150,000 if the client passed away by accident. Okay, it does include living benefits with it now, which I don't think it did when I first started. Anyways, I have defined those living benefits for you right there on number 3 in that section. You can check out all those, and also the optional riders at additional cost is under there as well. So whenever you're doing an Americo app, it's actually easier to use an iPad, because most electronic signatures, it's just going to have a button that you read to the client and you just click and agree. You don't actually have to do a signature per se. It's just a click on thing. With Americo, they actually want the client's signature. So it's easier if you're using an iPad or something like that to do it. I have went as far as been in a pickle. My iPad's dead. I'm using a laptop, and I've pulled it up on my cell phone before and got their e-signature. It's very doable, guys. So don't be in a panic if you don't have an iPad, because I know some of you don't. You can pull it up on your smartphone too, okay? So as you're doing the Americo app, the first thing Americo does, you'll have like a 3-part section where it'll go over how much coverage they want, their start off information like their social security, height and weight and all that. And then it's going to do a prescription check. And automatically it comes back right then, whether you can continue on with the application or not. I've had clients before where I thought based on their prescriptions they should be able to go, but there's something they're not telling me because Americo pops up like you're done right here. You can't continue on. And sometimes it will go ahead if you're doing like Americo Eagle, which is their whole life product. It'll offer the guaranteed benefit. I personally don't know much about their guaranteed product. Like I said, Chris or Mike's probably your go-to when it comes to Americo. And it does have the return of premium, which I notated on there. It says CBO for cashback offer. And like I said, the neat thing about that is your living benefits are still included with it if you decide to do that option. Price comparison with Mutual of Omaha, I'm not really positive on the cashback offer, but I know generally Mutual of Omaha runs a little bit cheaper than what Americo does, but you're not going to know on the fly like you do with Americo. If you have any clients that have a prescription that you're confused about, if Mutual of Omaha or Take or whatever, I would automatically go to Americo because you're going to know right then and there if you're going to be able to get them approved for coverage. Okay, United Home Life, Simple Term 20 Deluxe. I know you guys are probably like, why did you include it in there? Because it seems like you hate that product. But it's a good product if you have people who are under 50 who have diabetes and they're insulin dependent. It only goes up to $50,000 in benefit, but hey, you're able to offer them term if they're dead set on term. Because you and I both know you're going to get some clients sometimes who are just, I don't know, they're crazy about term and they don't want any whole life option. This is your option if you get someone who's like that, or if you get someone who is under 40, because 40 and older, you can do some whole life coverage. But if you get someone under 40, it's kind of hard to find something for other than standalone accidental death. So this is an option available for them. American Amicable, which it's kind of funny this is last on my list because this seems to be people's favorite product in Symmetry. People really love AmAm. It's a good company, I suppose. What I don't necessarily like about UHL and AmAm is you have to do a phone interview right there in the home. You're not going to have to do that with Mutual of Omaha, NLG, or Americo. And sometimes those phone interviews take forever and they don't answer the phone. And I don't necessarily like to do it. Now, Mutual of Omaha does on occasion request phone interviews from your clients. They will call the client themselves. They do it at random. I don't really know how they choose the people. They will call the client themselves and do the phone interview. They can't get a hold of the client. They are going to let you know on your portal. You can see that in your back office. The client needs a phone interview, and then it's up to you to call the client, let them know, and you can do a 3-way call and call in, or you can have the client call on their own. Better to do a 3-way call. You can make sure the client's doing it right then and there. That's my own opinion. So 4 and 5, UHL and AmAm, they're going to have you do the phone interviews right there in the home. Why do I like AmAm? Well, they have 2 different products for their term. They have Easy Term and then they have Home Certainty. Has the same benefits except for Home Certainty is more expensive. Maybe you can ask Chris or Mike why. It could have something that I don't know about. But to my knowledge, it does the same stinking thing, and Easy Term is much cheaper. AmAm Easy Term, why I like it is if you're getting the occasional person who is dead set on wanting a term option and they're older, this is my go-to product. It goes up to 75 years old in age. Now that is in Tennessee. I know some states it only goes to 70. And that's just simplified underwriting. Everything I do simplified underwriting. Goes up to 75 with 10-year terms. I've got people approved who are 68, 69 years old who were dead set on term. Trust me, that wasn't my first route that I wanted to go, but I always give people options, and I let them know that their insurance is in their control. And hey, if they're going to qualify for it and they're set on it and they want to spend $300 a month, okay, we'll do it then. So this is a good company who's going to accept those older people at a cheaper price. Do know if they are over 65 years of age, you have to do a minimum of $100,000 in coverage. So you can't go way down in coverage. So that is a good tip that I forgot to include in there. Sorry, guys. So 100,000 at 65, 100,000 or more, which up to 250,000, of course, simplified issue. Optional riders are available at additional cost. No riders are really included in that one. It all costs extra. But you'll see whenever you're doing the quotes for them, it'll have the boxes you can check to add those riders on for the client. AMAM is a cheaper company. I wouldn't just say for older people. You can get younger people on AMAM too, but I like to leverage off of the living benefits, so I tend not to do that a lot. But if they're looking for something that's like stupid cheap, and you've told them Mutual of Omaha and NLG and you've already compared those, AMAM could be a good route to go, because AMAM's usually pretty cheap in my opinion. Okay. We good? Anybody have anything that there's chat stuff coming up, but guys, I haven't read those chats, so I have no idea what's going on.
I was just going to say AMAM turns pretty fast also, which is nice, honestly, to still work with carriers that turn quick.
Yeah.
That aren't necessarily Mutual of Omaha and America. American AMAM Pool actually turns around within 2 or 3 days, which is good.
Yeah, they pay you super fast. And like I said, they are cheap. So if you have that client who could care less about living benefits, they just want cheap coverage, AMAM's your way to go, really.
Does anyone know if the commission on a home certainty and a easy term are different? Is that the reason why the price difference?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's higher, and it was created specifically for Symmetry producers. Isn't that right, E?
Yeah. What's it called? Easy term is full commission. Home certainty is like half commission.
See, why would you even do home certainty? It's more expensive.
Are you sure? I think it might be
the other way around.
Well, actually, no, I think it's the same. Elzar, we compared this, and I know Chris Thompson, I doubt he's on here, but he's one of our agents. He goes crazy about checking commission things. I just write what's best for the client. That's me personally. So if it is a 10-year easy term with AMAM, I know you do get paid less. I think it's like 45% if you're on a 60% scale. But if that's what's best for the client, even if I get paid less, it's not about me. It's about the client. So I'm going to do what's best for them. So don't always bank on, I'm going to get paid less. If that's what's best for the client, sorry about you.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And Britt, you're hitting the nail on the head. Do what's right for the client before what's right for you. And if you're doing what's right for you first, then shame on you. The other thing I would say is I do know that home certainty, like you said, it was created specifically for Symmetry Financial Group. And I believe that you have to have a mortgage. You have to put in the application that you have a mortgage in order to, what's that?
They changed that. It was announced at conference. That was a big thing. They were like, for home certainty, you actually don't have to have a mortgage now. And I'm like, what? I've never known the point, so whatever.
So then it was originally created. That's the way it was started. It was originally created. And I think the big difference is really just the commission. It sounds like it's just that you get
it was the commission.
Uncertainty.
Yeah, they've changed a lot of different things. Easy term was less commissions, also because they didn't have a lot of the riders, the living benefits. And now they've added it, made it the same as home certainty, but it's still, the commission levels are still different.
Gotcha.
Now I know I didn't go over America, the product. You might be wondering why I didn't mention HMS 100. HMS 100, that is one of those products that with the commission, it means it doesn't have any accidental death with it. It's just the death benefit. But I know the commission is like way low on that product, and the 125 is not that much more. I mean, it's just a few dollars. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't write that product. There's reasons behind every product that I didn't list on here. Everyone has their favorites. So, I guess continuing on. Standalone accidental death policies. This is a great way. If you guys are not offering this in every home, I'm not really sure what you're doing. This is a good way to get your app count up and get that client even more comfortable with the coverage that you've already got in place. How I generally do it is I go over, I do my whole meeting spill, which I need to do that for you guys one day. I do my whole meeting spill, and after they've already decided what they want to do and I'm writing the applications, this is conversation that I have as I'm writing the application. I talk about UHL, Protector AD. I love that product. That is awesome. But make sure it's available in your state. In the state of Tennessee, it is not available. I work in Virginia a lot too. It is available there. You definitely want to make sure that this is available in your state. it is a paper app. So be prepared for that. You guys who have an iPad, tablet, or whatever, you can pull it up and just have them sign on there. That's generally how I do it. Or if you want to have a few printed out and always in your folder, if this is available, you should be writing it. How it works is it's actually a really small insurance policy. So whenever you go to write the app, you may be a little confused. You'll see on C under number 1, 50,000 of accidental death has to have a $125 whole life policy. That's right, $125 policy, because it's going to ask you amount of whole life coverage. So you know what to put there. I've kind of put the max it goes to is 100,000 in coverage, and it's going to be for a $250 whole life policy. So know that as well when you're writing the application, so you don't get confused. And the benefit actually doubles after 10 years. I do 100,000 policies on those all the time. That is my go-to product with UHL. I love them for that. The 100,000, it starts with 100,000 accidental death. After 10 years, it doubles to 200,000 in accidental death. And after 20 years, if you didn't use the policy, you actually get all your money back. I do believe it's $21.37, and that should be the same across the board, generally for a $100,000 policy. And like I said, if they don't use it after 20 years, they get all your money back. It's kind of one of those products like, why wouldn't you do this? Like, it's pretty much like a savings. If you pass away, your wife's either going to get 100,000 or 200,000 after 10 years, and you kind of just got that policy for free all that time. So that is definitely a way to get your app count up, is using these policies as well. Mutual of Omaha Guaranteed Advantage. That's going to be your next standalone accidental death policy. The thing with UHL is you do not have to have a health license to write that one. So all you guys out there with just your life license, which I know we crossed that bridge earlier, do life and health if you can, if you're in that process now, because you'll be like me and Elazar going back to get our health license. But hey, live and learn. We didn't need it for the first couple of years. We have survived just fine without it, but it is better to go ahead and do. With Mutual of Omaha's Guaranteed Advantage, you do need your health license to write it. The main difference in it and UHL is with UHL, you're only able to go up to 60 years of age. Now, that does vary by state, so make sure you check it on your app. With Mutual of Omaha, it goes up to age 70. So you've still got that 10 extra years. You can be layering those policies on top of clients to give them a little extra coverage. And with it, UHL, the Protector AD, it only goes up to 100,000 in coverage. With Mutual of Omaha's Guaranteed Advantage, you can get up to $500,000. So clients can definitely get more. You know, if you're struggling getting them the full mortgage amount, this is a great way to get them that peace of mind if they couldn't afford it the original way. Layer these policies on top to get them some additional coverage. A cool thing with the Mutual of Omaha Guaranteed Advantage, most accidents are considered within 90 days after said accident, if death occurs within 90 days after said accident. So, you know, you're in a car wreck and death happens after 95 days with most carriers. Well, you already know. It has to happen within 90 days after said accident to be considered accidental death. Mutual of Omaha, it actually has to happen within 365 days after said accident. That's pretty cool. I don't know any other carrier that's like that. So if death happens within 365 days after the car wreck, it's still considered an accidental death. So that's a really cool thing to leverage on as well. Okay. Moving on. The last page here is your whole life, critical period, final expense, equity protection. That's all the same products. I know, that's crazy. That was hard for me to grasp at first. It's all small whole life products. Generally, it goes up to 40,000 in coverage. There is one company, I think it's UHL, that goes up to 45,000 in coverage. But generally, 40,000 is maxing out with those. The thing with those policies is most of them don't start till age 45. Like even for guaranteed issue doesn't start to age 45. This is another reason I like UHL. UHL actually starts at age 40. I know a bunch of you guys don't know that. You think if they're under 45 and they've got health issues that they're just screwed. They're not. And looking at their UHLs, like if you look at an app, an actual like printed app, not just the e-app, I pull it up and it's divided into sections. It'll start with Express Issue, then it'll go to Express Issue Deluxe, and it'll go to Express Issue Premier. The more times that your client can say no, if they have a yes in that section, it'll disqualify them, but they qualify for the one above. So know that. And also, like I said, with UHL, you have to do a phone interview in home. If the client doesn't qualify for the product you're applying them for, that person doing the phone interview is going to tell you what the client does qualify for. So that's if they have iffy health issues and America said no or whatever already to you, and it's just guaranteed issue, and you're trying to find them something that's not guaranteed issue. Doing UHL and doing the phone interview with them and stuff, it's going to they'll let you know right then and there what they qualify for. So that's a good thing to use. Sorry, I got a little off track. UHL isn't even listed first, but I just thought I would tell you guys because a lot of you don't realize it goes down to age 40. Of course, my number one's Mutual of Omaha. I don't even know why you thought anything else may be up there. I leverage off of the living benefits. So same thing with this. I leverage off of the living benefits. Mutual of Omaha has a cool rider on Living Promise. It's called the Nursing Home Rider. With the Nursing Home Rider, if the client's in a nursing home for 90 consecutive days and will be for the rest of time, they can go ahead and have that benefit accelerated to them. Generally, whenever you have benefit accelerated, it's client's choice can be accelerated up to 80% of the benefit. That varies, like switching back to term real quick, NLG will do up to 100%, but it's based on a doctor's opinion that NLG has. Mutual of Omaha is different in that aspect. It's up to 80%, and it's based on what the client wants to take. Now, the other 20%, what normally happens if they take 80%, they're in a nursing home or they've been diagnosed with a terminal illness, they take 80%, it leaves the last 20% of that benefit in the policy, and it cuts their payments down by 80% as well. So that's pretty cool. You know, they'll still have a little bit of a death benefit there. Same thing with this product. They randomly select people for phone interviews. I have no idea how they choose it because I've had them phone interview perfectly healthy clients. I think it's really at random. They'll call the client if they need it.
Hey, Britt, on Mutual of Omaha's phone interview, just remember it's not like the traditional phone interview where they're going to go through the entire application to confirm everything. They usually just confirm the client's social security information, and it's almost like a 1 or 2 or 3 question. It's almost like they want to make sure that the medication is specifically for this, or they want to make sure that, you know, X, you know, is a big question mark, and they just want to ask on that. So I've had some interviews. Again, the first time I had it, I thought it was going to be an 8-minute interview. Called in, checked the information, and they asked one question. Hey, are you on such and such a medication? Yeah. Okay, thanks. That was it. So,
and I know they've just asked, did the agent meet you in the home?
Yep.
What?
Yeah. That's usually what it is. It's some sort of security flag that they raise.
Yeah.
It's kind of a compliance thing as well as just making sure that you guys are doing the right thing. So it shouldn't take that long, and just make sure if you haven't gone through it yet, go through it once or twice, and then make sure that you educate the client on what to expect. That's the big thing. Expectation.
Yes, I tell the client every time before I leave, especially if I wrote Mutual of Omaha, listen, they do phone interviews at random because I don't want the client to feel like they've been randomly picked out or feel like it's fraud. They're calling, wanting my social, like they may randomly call you, heads up. I tell them that every single time. Okay, so at Marico, Eagle Premier, love it, especially if a client has health issues, just because same thing, you're going to know right there in the home if you can continue on with the app or if they're just going to offer guaranteed issue. Of course, I love it for that reason. It usually is a little bit higher in price than Mutual of Omaha, but not much higher, depending on age. Once you get up there in age, it can really be a lot more pricey. So they have health issues, I would definitely go with that one. I've definitely got some people approved before who I thought maybe wouldn't. You got to be look at those questions. You know, a lot of people don't read the headline of the question that says within the past 5 years, and they just read the question. have you been diagnosed with hepatitis in the past 5 years? Well, if your client's proved it, and it's been more than cleared it, and it's been more than 5 years ago, hey, you're good to go. But make sure you really read those questions in detail. And that's not just with America. That's with any application. I know I made that mistake in the beginning. Really make sure you read the headlines of those sections in the past 2 years, in the past 5 years, because you may be able to say no on a question that you're actually saying yes to because you're not reading it. So read. I shouldn't have to tell you guys that, but here we are. America Eagle Premier includes accidental death in their coverage. That's a cool thing about it. This is only with their whole life product, okay, not with their term. It already includes accidental death wrapped up in there, so it's for the amount of coverage you're doing. You do $30,000 in coverage, it already has $30,000 accidental death tied into it. So make sure if you're hardcore price comparing, I don't know if some of you guys get crazy with that. If you're comparing apples to apples, make sure you're doing Mutual of Omaha's quote with 30,000 accidental death tied up in it, because America comes with it already in the price. Of course, I've wrote in there they're more lenient on health issues. Okay.
Yeah, and when I was just going to say, when you add the accidental death component of it, they're really close.
Yeah, I mean, it's like $4 or $5.
Yeah, it's usually pretty close. When you don't add that, that's where you see that 5 to 10% AP difference.
Yeah.
But it is for an elderly person, is accidental death as likely? No, but it still happens. And again, when we were talking, the Miller family, for example, their dad was walking, he fell, he broke a rib, he got pneumonia from puncturing a lung, and he passed away 2 weeks later. That's an accidental death. And you guys need to realize, like, an accidental death is not just jumping a motorcycle through a ring of fire and it not going well. An accidental death could be something like that.
I'm not sure the numbers on that, but I know they speak about it at conference a lot, and I'm pretty sure I've heard 70% of most deaths are by accident. I'm not positive.
Yeah, it's the fourth most common cause of death in the United
It's
States.
much higher than people think. And I tell that to a lot of my older clients all the time. Like, you may think that you don't need accidental death, but actually in older people, accidents are a big cause of death. They slip and fall in the shower and they break a hip, and then things escalate from there. As long as they pass away within 90 days after said accident, it's considered accidental death. So I throw examples like that, like Chris, the example you just said, which is another story. I use people's stories all the time. I am constantly telling stories in the home. I am a storyteller. I tell that story all the time about him falling and breaking a rib and it punctured a lung. And it really hits home with people, like, yeah, that could happen. Yeah, it could happen. Anyways, on to the next one. UHL Express Issue Premier. Now, I put Express Issue Premier. That is the one that's going to be the cheapest. There's Express Issue Premier, and then Deluxe is a little more expensive, and then Express Issue. The Express Issue does have a 2-year waiting period on it. It's just like your guaranteed issue, basically. But that's one of those things when you're on the phone doing your phone interview, like I did this product last night. I put them in for Express Issue Premier, and they were like, yeah, he's only going to qualify for Express Issue because of a medicine he took 2 years ago for seizures, which they don't ask questions about, but that's a whole nother story. Anyway, so they're going to let you know right then and there if the client qualifies for that specific product. And so you can go ahead and let the client know at home, hey, this price is going to change to this, or we're going to bump down your coverage a little bit. So it's good on the fly if you don't know with health issues. Transamerica. Hate this company. I probably shouldn't say that because this has been recorded. But hey, I've been honest with you guys.
Hey,
this is
as an agency, I'll just second it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really dig them either as an agency. It's been a pain.
The only thing they're good for is immediate solutions. That's it. The only thing they're good for.
That's
period. Other than that, don't touch anything else with Transamerica.
Yes. Immediate Solutions is going to be the product that you write. And this is actually the only section I had Elzar do. I'm going to call him out. He didn't write the product beside it. That's not my fault. Okay.
Good job, E.
Actually, I'm going to take ownership of that. I should have double checked it. He told me to, and I was like, it's fine, whatever. Okay, so Immediate Solutions, if you guys want to write that product out beside Transamerica. What is it good for? Not a lot. It's going to be about the same price as everything else. It's a paper app only. Any company that only does just paper apps, I probably don't like them already because I usually don't have that app on the fly. I'm gonna be honest with you. I am an e-app writer all day, every day, because I mess up on paper apps, and so do you guys too. I know we've got to start with them in the beginning, but it's a lot. There's a lot less room for error on an e-application. Why I do use them? Let me get to that instead of just beating them up. They allow people who have COPD. A lot of you guys don't know that. They think COPD is going to be guaranteed issue automatically. If they have COPD and they are not on oxygen, Transamerica doesn't care. So that is a good product to use if a client has COPD. If they have COPD and they are on oxygen, guaranteed issue. Don't ask me that 100 times. Guaranteed issue. If they have COPD with oxygen, it's guaranteed issue automatically. They're good for clients who are overweight. I guess I should add that in there. They don't do the whole table rating thing based on weight. So if you have someone who's real big, yeah, use Transamerica. Next, AIG guaranteed issue. Dave, I saw that you commented and you said that Gerber also includes accidental death. I think that's after the 2 years. I am not really positive on that.
Yeah.
And that does vary by state. So AIG, why do I love AIG? Well, A, because it has an e-app, and Gerber, I know that they have an e-app platform, but it's not that great. It's generally a paper application. I know from using the platform, it freezes up and things like that. AIG, they are good to go. So if you've got, well, I guess either one requires your E&O license. I would rock AIG all day, every day versus Gerber. Just because price-wise, it's usually better too. And it includes accidental death in the first 2 years. Which means if, generally with your guaranteed issue products, if a client passes away within the first 2 years, depending on the product, it varies slightly, and I've kind of defined that there for you. With AIG in the first 2 years, it's the beneficiary is going to get the money, the premiums paid in back, plus 10% on top of that. Unless it's by accidental death, then they'll receive full benefit. With Gerber, the first year's money back plus 10%, the second year's money back plus 20%. So it does vary slightly in that perspective, but the money difference, price difference, I would do AIG all day. You must be appointed to write the applications. It's not something you can pull a paper app on. So do know that ahead of time. If you do want to write with AIG, you need to go ahead and get appointed with them. It does include chronic illness. It's pretty cool for a guaranteed issue product. You're not going to find anything else that includes it. Well, I haven't. You may find it. Let us know if you do. Chronic illness, can't perform 2 out of 6 daily living activities. They can have their benefit accelerated to them. I'm not sure how it works within the first 2 years. I'm sure that doesn't kick in until the 3rd year where you can get full benefit. But that's a pretty cool thing. And with state, that could vary by state. Check and make sure.
So Brittany, this is Ron. It pays half out within that time period. So from day one, it'll pay half of what the amount is.
Okay, well that's even cooler than what I thought. So it's not the premiums back plus 10%?
No, if that's if they die, but if they have an illness,
yeah,
it'll pay half of what.
For the chronic illness part, that's pretty cool. I know Elzar just told me about it last night. I actually didn't know about it myself. Elzar and I feed off each other all the time when it comes to product knowledge, and you're always going to find agents who know stuff about things that you don't know. I'll call Omar up sometimes, and he'll be telling me stuff, and I'm like, oh, I've been doing this like a year longer. How do you know about that? Omar is always teaching me about stuff, though. Love him. I love that guy. Okay, so then Gerber, I didn't really have much to say about it because I don't write it a lot, but the main difference is first year 10%, second year money back plus 20%. But the cool thing about it with the guaranteed is with AIG, the accidental death in first 2 years. I actually had a client recently. I wrote a policy. It was January 16th of this year. The client's wife's calling me 2 weeks later, and she's in a panic, and I'm in a panic for her. Like, why are you panicking? Calling me like everything's good. She's like, I just want to make sure that the policy cleared. He was about 70 years old, and he went to help his daughter jump off her car, and the car ran over him. He was in ICU. And me getting told about that, like, of course I'm in a stinking panic because I know there's a 2-year waiting period on that. But lo and behold, I think it could have been Omar. Omar had told Elazar or something that accidental death is included within the first 2 years. And I didn't believe it at first. I had to look it up and see it in writing myself before I felt comfortable like telling the client, like it's going to be okay. So yeah, that's awesome on a guaranteed issue product. Anyways, I guess I'll open the floor now for questions. I've done the full spill of my brain, basically.
Something I want to add with AIG versus Gerber too, on just an agent standpoint. AIG actually pays the agent 50% in advance.
This is
so you get 6 months in advance and then get paid as earned after that, where Gerber immediately is just paid as earned.
Yes, that's a good point, and that's another reason I don't like Gerber.
So I've got, and I'll ask the question, maybe you guys can suggest the best solution for any of the carriers that require you to write an application first. Example being National Life Group, they want you to get contracted first, write a paper application first, and then you'll have access to their quoting system. What would you guys suggest is the best process for a new agent that finds NLG in their quoting system for Virtual Mentor and can't get access to quoting? What would you guys suggest would be the best solution for that?
I mean, well, we all know what route I'm about to say is because I know that you did this for me and I am forever grateful for it. You gave me your login, and same thing with structuring IULs. You don't know this, but I learned how to structure IULs because you were like, yeah, nose around in there, you'll figure everything out. I looked at old IULs you had structured, and I saw different ways of structuring them. And that's how I personally learned. And new agents that we have, I offer my login if they ask, and I tell them, be nosy. I don't care. I don't have anything to hide. I mean, what's the worst they're going to do? Look at my commission statements? Yeah, you'll be seeing the money you're about to make. Go ahead. I don't care. I don't have anything to hide. I am an open book when it comes to that. So I don't mind someone using my login, but if they don't want to do that and they want me to look up the quote, I'm more than willing to do that for somebody.
Love that response. Chris, what would you suggest with those in your agency or across the board?
Yeah, along the same, I like to do screen share if possible whenever playing around with building an IUL. I think it's important to understand the concept of it.
That needs to be a whole session for people because I don't have the time to show everybody individually. If we could do that for somebody all at once, that'd be awesome.
We can do it.
Yeah, we can do it in the next week or two. I think it's really important for a person to maybe also not put the cart in front of the horse. NLG is a great company. They're important to work with, but I want to pump some of the brakes on this and realize that, guys, you don't need to go out and think that you're going to write complex, overfunded, point-to-point, S&P 500, wash loan provision IULs all day and every day. You won't. You don't need to. You're not. That's not going to happen. But if you want to learn it while you're doing the bread and butter, absolutely, that's important. The other thing is they used to allow you to contact them and get access just to run illustrations before you were appointed, but I don't know if they still allow that for that anymore. It used to be that you could contact sales support and get that.
Yeah, so I love where both of you are going, and I think the main thing I want to say is anyone that's new that gets NLG as an option inside of Virtual Mentor, please reach out to your upline and ask, what should I do? Now, if your upline is not contracted with them, reach out to your agency manager, okay, and say, what should I do? Best case scenario is your agency manager or upline will work with you, will get you the quote with you, will help you get the paperwork you need, everything you need together. That is what a leader from the front is going to do. Now, I am happy to give out for people that are serious and that already are ready to take an application. Yes, I've done that to Brittany. I've done that to several others, okay? Here's a solution that would be easy for all of you, okay? Why don't you just write an application on yourself for some fully underwritten term, okay? So that you're not doing a fully underwritten policy on all of your agent or all of your clients. and getting them declined and you don't know the process, even if you get a decline or if you don't accept it, at least you know the process through which you're going to ask your client to go through. Again, if you're not healthy and you won't qualify for it, that's a different situation. But it wouldn't hurt you to take a very small policy on yourself, $10 a month, whatever it is, okay, to go through the process and to get contracted. That's probably, again, you're not doing it to advance commission and all that stuff. You're doing it, if you haven't gone through a fully underwritten policy on your own self, you're never going to know what it's like to take a client through it, okay? That's the reason why my wife and I, when I started with Northwestern Mutual years ago, the first thing I did was fully underwritten on myself. I was a little bit scared what was going to happen. I didn't know what they were going to do, if they were going to come out and, you know, ask me weird questions and poke and prod in places I didn't want. I mean, I didn't know, okay? So I did it on myself and on my wife so that we knew what the process was, so that I could be confident when I'm telling my team or when I'm telling my clients, this is what's going to happen, this is what to expect. So just a side note, not all of you need to do it, but if you are serious about writing National Life Group, go do it on yourself and go get contracted before you talk to people about it. That would be my solution and my suggestion on top of what these two amazing leaders have already talked about.
I totally agree. And I mean, you don't even have to do something that's fully underwritten. I mean, if you want to skip that part and just do some good old term or something, do a small policy on yourself. It's fine.
That's exactly right.
I fully avoid fully underwritten. And the only way I ever do it is if I am competing price with someone. If someone's like, I've got this for whatever, and they've done fully underwritten before, like, hey, if you want to do that rodeo, we can go that route.
And don't ever go fully underwritten until you talk to your manager, please.
Yes, because what we're going to say is get something simplified issue in place first. Mike taught me that, just in case something does come up when you go fully underwritten health-wise with them, and you just disqualified them for every stinking thing. So do simplified issue first.
Awesome. What questions do we have? I know we're 8 minutes over, but man, this is good stuff. And I am recording this so you guys can look at it afterwards as well. But any quick questions before we jump off that you guys have based on what Brittany has talked about today?
I don't have a question, Britt, but I really thank you very much. This has been very, very, very helpful for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
This is Ron. You did an awesome job, Brittany. Let me ask you guys a question. At the end of Mutual of Omaha, their Living Promise, they ask if you're going to do a phone interview.
Say
Do
no.
you guys do that?
No. Are you
Okay.
kidding me? Do you not realize how anti-phone interview I am? No. And if they want one, they can call the client themselves.
Okay. Thanks, Brittany. You did a great job.
Yeah, I think the only time I would ever do that, Ron, is if the client is on the edge and there's like some serious questions as far as their health, as far as actually being able to qualify. Then yeah, you can do that and you can get a quick answer. But I agree with Brittany. I mean, just set the client up. They're going to call you. They may or may not. It's a good thing if they do. Here's how to do it. You know, just set them up for good expectations, and you shouldn't have a problem. But yeah, it's a good question.
And guys,
Right.
I'm going to take this a step further. I didn't say this before, but then again, this is something Mike taught me in the beginning. I go ahead and tell the client, if they've got a lot of health issues and I'm applying them for something, hey, listen, if you don't qualify for this, I'm going to go ahead and put you in for something else, okay? I'm going to keep it around the same price range, but my goal is to get you coverage and that peace of mind that you're looking for. So go ahead and let the client know. So if they get declined for Mutual of Omaha, you can go ahead and put them in through Americo, and they've pretty much, you know, they'll, as you're leaving, they'll be like, oh, that's fine. You know, they'll realize you truly care about their coverage. So you don't have to call them, because a lot of times when you're making that call, like letting them know they got declined through somewhere, you know, you always want to make the call and not necessarily say, hey, you got declined, but listen, I think I can get you approved through this other company. You always want to make it sound positive, but you know, you don't have to make that phone call if you've already told them, I'm going to put you through another carrier, because a lot of times you'll get they'll say, oh, just forget about it. And yeah, you don't want to have to, so don't cross that bridge if you don't have to. Go ahead and let them know as you're leaving. Set all the expectations. Hey, you may have a phone interview from them. And listen, if something happens and you already get declined, I'm going to go ahead and put you through this other carrier that's within the same price range. Is that okay? And they're always going to say, yeah, that's fine, because they're gung-ho on the insurance at that moment.
Love it.
Yeah, I love that. And I would say just that's that continued edification of keeping the expectations very clear and transparent, and, you know, using the words helping you, I'm here to help you,
Yes.
in your family, like keeping that process just as straightforward as possible, lowering all the hurdles that these people have to jump over. That's really, really important. It's so important. I can't tell you how many times I've ruined a sale by forgetting to say something, or maybe not made the expectations in the process transparent. So great job on that.
Yeah. Expectation wise, I always set them up on the front end. I go ahead and I say right then, as I'm beginning the meeting, listen, I don't care what you do. I'm going to give you plenty of options. And as long as you have peace of mind that you're looking for when I leave this house, that's all I care about. And they love it right then, because it just takes you being a salesperson right off the table. You're there to help them. And that's definitely the culture that Symmetry embraces, is you're there to help them and you're not a pushy salesman. So figure out their budget and all that and stay within that. Like, be kind to that. If you're overkilling their budget and stuff, you're not going to get things issued, or you're going to get a bunch of chargebacks. I talk them down on price constantly, so don't be scared to do that.
Brittany, thank you so much. You put so much time into this, and guys, please value what she's done. Utilize, and Chris and I were talking back and forth with this. Guys, step one, use the virtual mentor. Step one. Step two, use what Brittany has provided for you to help guide you on maybe option 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got 5 options of companies. Where should I go? As you're talking with the client and they say, hey, Mike, I want X and I want Y. That should be a guide that you can pick from the options in the virtual mentor to point you in the right direction to do what's best for the client. Notice that nothing that she put on here was about you and about your commission. It was about understanding the product, okay, and understanding what's best for the client.
Yes.
The last thing I would say is I am going to put this on our training portal inside of Agent Training. I am going to continue to point you guys to that. So if you haven't been able to get all the information, this is a lot of content. I would suggest that you be a student of the business. Don't just say, hey, yeah, that was a great mentor session, and be done with it. Go back and watch it again and again and again and again.
Share it with your new agents. Like, share it with your new agents. And like, a lot of you new guys, you're coming to us with these CQs, your client qualification. You're saying, what should I do for that client? Do you really think that us giving you the answer right off is helping you learn anything? It's not. Do your research and come to us and say, hey, do you think Mutual of Omaha Term Life Express would be good for that client? We're going to love you a lot more, I promise. You've got 2 things to do before you come to us asking us what to do. Because sure, we know the answer, but we're not helping you learn anything by just handing you that answer.
Notice what she said. We're still going to love you, but we're going to love you a whole lot more, okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you don't let us try to spoon feed you the information. Be independent, be self-sufficient when it comes to an agent, and value your upline's time by doing the research ahead of time, looking at the virtual mentor, going to the training stuff, looking at the sheet, and then coming to Britt and say, or Chris, and say, hey, this is what I found. Am I on the right track? I'm looking at X, Y, and Z. Is that what you would do knowing this information? Guys, your mentor will love you forever if you value their time in that way.
Let me add one more thing to that. I will say this was a lot of product knowledge that you learned. And for you new people, you're going to sit around and you're going to stare at this and think you have to memorize all this, and you're going to have paralysis by analysis. Let me tell you how I started. We all know I've been fairly successful. Mike said, Brittany, schedule 10 meetings and then we'll talk about it. I don't think he really thought I was going to do that. And I did that. It was between a Friday and Saturday. I'm calling him Sunday freaking out. Virtual Mentor was very new at that moment. It was glitching constantly, didn't work with poo. And Mike was like, listen, I'm going to give you this link to this website. Just go put their information in there, whatever. And I mean, I did it, guys, and I was okay. And I figured out how to print my apps on my own. And I whined about it a little bit, but you know what? I made it. I went and I did those meetings, and Mike hadn't coached me on how to do that. I had learned every bit of stuff I know from agent training. Okay? So don't sit around and stare at this stuff and think you have to be a product genius. Get out there and do it. That's the only way you're going to learn. I hate to break it to you. You're going to have to face plant a few times, but you're going to make it, and you're going to learn from that. And you're going to learn a lot better than by us telling you. that you're going to face plant. You got to get out there and you got to face plant, okay? And do it hard. Make it good.
Yeah.
Give us some good stories
absolutely.
to talk about.
Going to church. We're going to church.
Yeah.
Love it.
I can't.
Love it. Brittany,
Can't
thank
say
you
enough.
so much. Thank you so much for your time. We're going to do another one of these with some other stuff. We'll do some IUL training. We're going to continue to pour into you guys. And guys, just like we said on the previous meeting about, I think it was Friday, we talked about some of the books and teaching and things of that nature. If you want to be a part of teaching some of this stuff, get with your upline, talk to Chris, talk to Britt, talk to me, talk to Elazar, and we'll find the right stuff for you guys to provide and pour into the team. Okay, this isn't about us. This is about us as a team pouring into everyone else. So, guys, thank you so much. Great mentor session. Britt, thank you so much again for all your time, and I hope you guys have a phenomenal week.